All right, friends, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. We are going to be talking about the three things that... I think I did it. Hang on. All right, got it.
Hey, you got milk? We do.
No, I don't.
This is 50 cups of milk.
All right, sorry about that. Audio difficulties. Welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. Let's try that again. So tonight we're going to be talking about the three things that most preppers forget in their prepping, and we're going to try to make this fun. I don't know if this is going to be a super long one, but before we get started, let's give people a little bit of a couple minutes here to hey Vicky, hey Lazarus, good to see you both. Hope you're having a good Friday. Give people a few minutes here to get through the notifications and whatnot, and I will go through a couple things here while we're waiting. So if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe at some point if you get anything out of value out of this. And also, always don't forget to check in the description down below. I have lots of discount codes for products that preppers typically are looking for to make your preparedness journey just a little bit easier. So check in the description down below. And a couple quick rules that we do. As always, we on the channel here, we do welcome some chat, and you can disagree with anything that I say. Please be kind to the moderators, though. The moderators are giving their time freely. They are not paid. And the moderators do have permission to put people in timeout or boot them off out of the live stream chat if you're being particularly problematic. Generally speaking, just don't be racist or sexist, and we shouldn't have a problem, okay? I do have a poll going, so if you're tuning in, make sure you vote in the poll. We'll check that at the end. And I wanted to mention that we do have a giveaway coming up, and that is going to be on the live stream on December 27th. We're going to be giving away a $50 gift card. This is not something that's affiliated with YouTube or anything like that. Basically, I've just wanted to give back to the audience for helping me get to 6,000 subscribers. No, I'm not there yet. We're very, very close, and I feel confident that we'll be able to get there by December 27th based on my usual number of subscribers that I get per month. So not affiliated with YouTube or Google or anything like that. Just old Sarge giving you back something for always being there, helping out, watching the channel, hitting that like button, buying the products with my affiliate links. All those things help me to earn a little bit of money. And periodically I do these giveaways to give it back to you, just to say a thank you. And I really appreciate this audience. And I always look forward to these Friday night chats. What else? Next Friday, I will not be live. A coworker of mine has an event going on, and I want to go and support her. So I will not be live. I don't know if I will have something for you to release. I will do my best to get something recorded this week. Sunday, I've got a little short coming. Tuesday, I've got a knife review coming. So that's kind of in the works. I'll see if I can get something done to pump out for Friday as well, since I won't be here. And then last little announcement here before we get into the top, before I say hi to everybody in chat and then we get into the topic is at the very end of tonight's stream, I'm going to be doing a little test. I want to test the wheel of names thing. You don't have to stay for that. Basically, after I give my send off, I'm going to try to do share screen and play around with it for a minute or two. If you want to hang out, you can, but you're certainly not obligated to do that. And just want to make sure that everything's running smoothly as we get closer and closer to that giveaway. Okay. All right. Let's say hi to chat. Maccabees, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday, my friend. Orlando Prepper, glad to see that you are safe and well. I've been following what's going on since what was it? Not Milton. Was it Milton? Yeah, Milton. Helene was the one before that. Milton was the one that came second. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate you being a subscriber. James, it's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And then, last thing before I get into tonight's topic, which really isn't going to take me too long at all. So on Instagram, I've really been running into a lot of problems with, for a while now, Instagram has really censored my content, mostly because I do, the knife reviews and things like that. They hate that stuff over there because somehow pocket knives are like the most dangerous thing in the world when they're not. They're really just a tool that's used for cutting up wood and cutting open boxes and things like that. But they've made up their mind that, these are horrible, horrible, dangerous tools. And so not just me, anybody who's been putting out any kind of knife content, they really kind of buried us into the basement of Instagram. Well, it's gotten worse and worse lately, where now I've got videos that are not even knife related, and they're flagging them for like the stupidest things. I did a video recently where it's that Tommy Lee Jones clip that you've seen people posting, where it's like, is it worth it? And he's walking away and he says, yeah, oh yeah, it's worth it if you're strong enough. And somebody flagged that as sexual content. Sexual content. You can't make this stuff up, folks. So at this point, I don't really know if Instagram itself is doing this because they're so ticked off with me and they're just looking for a reason to get me off the platform. That could happen. Or if some jerk out there, some little troll, because I do have a few trolls just like everybody else, some little troll went through and like started reporting stuff that's not knife related. Usually if that's going on, they do end up catching it and that person ends up getting banned for false reporting. So I'm hoping that's all it is, but just letting you know, if you follow me on Instagram, I am going through some problems on there dealing with the moderation. If you can do me a favor and just find like one of my more innocent posts, just asking for a little bit of help here if you're on Instagram, that one of my more innocent posts, like gardening or something like that doesn't have any knife stuff in it, share it in your stories and encourage people to go check out my content, because they have buried me so far into the basement now that like nobody's seeing anything that I'm posting, and it's really frustrating. If I get booted off of there, I probably won't reinitiate my prepping stuff on Instagram. I will probably try to come back with my mental health content on there. So you'll know if that happens. I'll make everybody aware of that. But just letting everybody know what's going on. It's become a very, very tough platform, not just for people who are knife enthusiasts, but also I have friends who do the natural remedies who are reporting that they're encountering the same. Homesteaders are encountering the same thing. Homeschoolers are encountering the same thing. So anybody that's like promoting any kind of like self-sufficiency seems to be getting targeted. They don't like independence and self-sufficiency, I guess. I don't know. I really don't understand what the problem is, because most of the content like that is wholesome and encourages people to be independent. But maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Maybe if, as somebody said to me in one of my reels on there, maybe if I was cute, young, and took my shirt off, then maybe they would promote me. And that actually kind of seems like, yeah, that's kind of how that platform works. They promote a lot of content that probably shouldn't get promoted. And then people who are just teaching you like how to do good homeschooling or how to grow your garden or how to forage for medicinal herbs are just getting treated like we're the worst criminals in the world. Thank you for listening to my rant tonight. This is my TED Talk. All right, let's check in one more time in chat, and then I'll go into tonight's content. Let's see here. Utah Mike's good to see you. Appreciate you. Tux, good to see you. Glad you survived that hurricane. TJ, glad to see that you survived the hurricanes. How are you doing tonight? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hold out hope that one day Instagram will be better. It used to be such a fun platform. In fact, there was a time when I liked Instagram better than YouTube, and actually my content was doing even better on Instagram than it was on YouTube. But like 2 years ago, for some reason, they just like really changed, and now all they do is promote like cat videos, which I like cat videos. I mean, I do like cat videos, and people scantily clad doing stupid dances on the subway for our TikTok clout, or Insta clout. Made money. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I went to Blade Show, Tuck, I did. Here, let me put the comment up there. When I went to Blade Show, I did talk to. There's a group out there that's like the equivalent of like the Gun Owners of America, where basically they're the knife. I forget what it's called, Knife Owners of America or something like that, and they promote like knife rights. And I talked to them about what's going on with social media, and they just said like Instagram they're just not interested in. It doesn't matter if we can bring money for them. They don't care if they lose all of us as content creators. Their opinion was like they just don't care. They just want like the cat videos and the people over sexualizing themselves. That's what it seems like, anyways. Tuck got banned for never posting anything, and they called it inappropriate. That sounds about right. Yeah, it could be bots. I don't know. Yeah, fingernail clippers are dangerous in regulated goods now. Steve's good to see you. Thank you so much for checking in. Appreciate you. ABCM channel, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Under the water behind the tree lurking. let's see. Dan, thank you so much. Y2K is how I started. Okay, you're talking about the poll. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in right now, folks, check in the poll at the top and give a little vote there. We'll check that at the end. Where you spend not on, and it's not spend time not online is a problem. If you were playing video games, that would be fine. Yeah. There was a time when I would have gotten wolf whistles and requested to take it off. Now they run away screaming. Corley, it's good to see you. How you doing? Appreciate you. Acer Rub Rum, good to see you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for giving me a little bit of your Friday. This one's probably gonna be pretty quick. So let's go ahead and get into this. 3 things, 10 minutes in, I'm finally getting to the topic. 3 things that I think most preppers are neglecting. The first one here is a bit controversial. People get really edgy about this. They get really defensive about it. But fitness is definitely a part of prepping. And I know what you're saying, but Sarge, you're fat, right? Like, and you can't see me from waist down, but I do. I've got the dad bod rocking, right? And I've gained a lot of weight over the summer. I've neglected my my exercise. I've eaten a lot of crap. And so I'm paying the price for it. Now, I usually do gain a little bit of weight this year, and then I usually shake it off like January, February, March. I shake it off and I go back to my fighting weight. But I get it. Like, who am I to preach about this? I am back on the walking and hiking and stuff like that. I've been trying to do it every single day. But fitness is a part of prepping. And here's why. If there's an emergency, like there's this fantasy, I think, that I see a lot of times in the prepper forums where, like, if there's any problems, they're just going to get on their roof and they're going to handle their problems of anything that comes down the street. Yeah, okay, that's great until like somebody knows your location and then they're going to take you out from a different angle. And I'm not even military and I know this stuff. Like this is just what I learned from playing a little bit of airsoft. It's such a ridiculous concept to think that if you can't move, that you're going to somehow be able to defend yourself. Not very long, you're not. Not very long, you're not. And if you have to evacuate your situation and you can't use vehicles or whatever, you're going to be hurting pretty quick. Some of us have put on our bug out bag and done, 5-mile, 10-mile hike to see what it's like. You're going to get wore out pretty darn fast. I just did a 5-mile one and it was like 95 degrees with high humidity and I was getting pretty cooked with it. It was pretty rough. So fitness is definitely a part of it. What if, just talking about storms and stuff, what if a giant tree lands on your house and you're going to have to deal with that, and you might have to pull somebody to safety. You might have to move a family member who's seriously injured, right? Like, your fitness does matter, and people get sensitive about that because I get it. Like, I'm a little bit overweight right now too. I get it. It sucks, but you got to deal with your reality, folks. And fitness is a part of prepping, and it's one aspect of prepping that people don't want to talk about, and people get butthurt about it. But it's real. It's a real part of prepping. It's more important than people think. Let's check your comments about that. See if anybody agrees with me. If I've already managed to piss off a few people, because that one does. It just pisses people off. Sorry. Utah Mike, you've never been on Instagram. Honestly, I can't recommend anybody get on Instagram right now. The way that they're treating content creators, I can't. Oh, sorry, I left your comment up there. There we go. I can't encourage anybody to try out that platform unless they fix their attitude. Sorry, I lost my spot. I got to move back here. Views on most prepping, survival, and bushcraft videos drop exponentially after the pandemic. Yeah, it does, but they go up and down. And with the hurricanes, I saw a huge surge on my views on my channel with the last 2 hurricanes. It seems to be coming back down to my baseline now. But whenever there's events, things like that, people do go looking for preparedness content. So it goes up and down. That is true. That is true. Both my parents were depression kids. I was a prepper from Earth. Yeah, same Vicky. And we didn't call it prepping growing up. Like both my parents grew up really poor. And my grandmother grew up during the Great Depression. And so I learned some things from her. And I can't say that I grew up poor. We grew up middle class. I grew up in a nice neighborhood, and I very blessed for that, but my parents grew up poor and I learned a lot from them. And we didn't call it prepping. I was just taught, when when my parents were teaching me about money and food and things like that, it was just taught, and my grandmother too, it was just taught that like times might not always be good, and you need to think ahead for that, right? And so that wasn't called prepping, that was called common sense, right? And later when I started getting into like Boy Scouts, and then I think, First Blood and Rambo came out and stuff like that, maybe we would have thought of it like some of that stuff as survivalism. And I got into like wilderness survival from a pretty young age and things like that. But again, that prepper term to me, I never even heard it until that Doomsday Prepper show came out. And then it became like a mainstream thing. And so I use prepping with Sarge because that is how people search for this type of content. If I had called it, just like storm readiness or something like that, I don't know that anyone would ever see it, right? So prepping has become like a branding term, just like survivalist is a branding term, and homesteading is a branding term, and bushcraft is a branding term. Like they represent something. But I agree with you. Growing up, like we never called it that. Well, that's one way to look at it, Utah Mike, is that like we do have a little bit extra calories to burn. And in the old versions of Survivor, right, when they, the early first few years when they really limited their food, people who came in there with a little bit of weight, not like super overweight, but like a little bit of extra weight, actually did better in the long game because they had a little bit more calories to burn on their body. So there is something to be said for that, but you also have to we do have to balance that with like fitness and health and that kind of stuff too, right? So I can honestly say, yeah, I've got extra calories to burn on my belly right now, but I also can't run as fast because of that, and to have to weigh that, one versus the other. So in the long run, I'd say I'd probably be better off if I lost that weight and was healthier and could run faster. I suggest people make gardens, raise some chickens. So far, completely. A lot of people, yeah, yeah. Gardening is like a no-brainer, right? In terms of preparedness, and it's hard at first, at least in the first few years when you're trying to learn it. There is a big learning curve to it. There will be a lot of failures. Even now, like I've been gardening most of my adult life, and I still have failures. I didn't have great crops this year. I think my garden that the soil's played out, so I'm gonna have to add a lot more compost to it this winter, and probably a cover crop to kind of restore some nitrogen too, so like a nitrogen fixer. So there is a lot to it, but gardening and chickens, like if people got good at those two things, a lot of people survived the Great Depression in the rural areas, rural areas by having like chickens, garden, and like cows for milk, things like that, right? And there's a charitable organization that I like called the Heifer Project, where they actually will raise money to bring like goats, chickens, and cows to these communities in very, very poor nations, and they'll teach them how to do it. And when they go back and study these communities a few years later, they're thriving. Like their nutrition's gone way up, the survival rate's gone way up. They're actually selling their eggs and stuff like that, so their economics are doing better. Those are fantastic preps, and if people just did that, they would stand a much better chance of surviving economic downturn and other bigger events. Hole in the roof tactic myself. I don't know what that is. I'm going to confess I don't know what that is. Scorpion metal started my prepping, but the hurricane adjusted with help of your videos. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that, Hood Billy. It's good to see you. How you doing tonight? I hope you're having a good night. And if those who didn't see it, Hood Billy and I did a stream 2 weeks ago where he was actually teaching me a little bit about panning for gold, which I didn't even realize that most states in the United States you have gold. Most of them have it. And if you learn how to do this, you can actually find some gold on your own. And that's another way to do some economic preparedness, you know? Yep. Yep. Good choice, probably. So yeah, at one point when I was in Kentucky, I had over 100 chickens, and man, they're so much fun. Chickens are a blast. It is a lot of work, and you do have to deal with predators, like certain snakes, raccoons, possums, weasels, all kinds of hawks. I even had a problem with hawks for taking some of my chickens. Um, hey Wayne, it's good to see you. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I guess there's a good reason why the military gets people in shape pretty quickly, right? Because it matters. Because it matters. There you go, Vicky. There you go. All right. Whoops. Sorry. Having problems with my controls there. Same. I saw commercials for Doomsday Preppers and just for the definition of the term. I've only seen about 5 minutes of that show. All right. So here's what I can tell you about that show. I know somebody who was on that show, and I invited them on the channel, and they didn't want to. There might be a non-disclosure agreement going on there or something like that. I have a while back, Nat Geo posted a lot of those episodes on YouTube. They might still be up. And I would go on there and I would comment like things that I knew about how it works behind the scene. And I got banned from their channel for revealing stuff that they didn't want revealed. So you take that, since I don't want to get a cease and desist letter, you take that however you decide to take that. I would say if you want to learn, if you want to watch a good show that's going to give you some really good skills and is very realistic, check out Alone. Alone is a great show. And I know some of the people that were on there too, like Carly. Carly was on our channel too. I think it was last summer. And I'm going to be seeing her in a few weeks at Georgia Bushcraft. So I will see if I can get her to come back on the show again. She was a great guest too. Yep, they store food for the store food to the church they followed. Yep, and that's and I think I know what you're talking about. There are some faiths that encourage that, and I think that's fantastic. And they teach families about it too. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm not. I don't disagree with that. D man, how you doing? Yeah, I heard that from other people too, that a lot of people are having problems with their gardens this year. Now, I can tell you it's not the seeds because my seed stock mostly. I do get some seeds from Pine Tree Garden Seeds, but my seed stock that I used mostly was my seeds, which was heirloom from a couple years ago. So it's not the seeds. I just attributed it to that maybe my soil is losing its nutrients and I need to kind of rebuild my soil and replenish it, but maybe something else is going on. I don't know. It does make you scratch your head. Um, yeah, people get complacent. People get apathetic. After like here we are. We just passed Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, and people are already kind of forgetting. We saw that big surge. At least I did on my preparedness videos, and then it's already kind of coming back down to my baseline. People are already kind of going back to their baseline. So I hope that some people are staying with it. That's why we do this, is try to get people doing this. So look at it this way. For those, and I know there's a lot of content creators here tonight in the chat, and you guys, and if you're watching this and you're new to prepping, check out everybody in the chat there. Great channels. But if something like this ever happens, right, the more people who are prepared, the better it is for all of us. So if we had, let's say, 5% of the population is prepared, that's not great. If we have 30% of the population that starts getting prepared, we're going to fare much better as a country, and people aren't going to be so desperate to rob each other and do bad things. Preparedness matters to all of us. It's not just about me protecting my family. If it was, I wouldn't be on here teaching things. I wouldn't care what other people are doing. I wouldn't care if somebody else didn't prepare. But what happens in the community affects all of us. So the more people we educate, the more people we get doing this, the better off it is for everybody. Yeah, foraging is great, fishing is great, hunting skills people should be working on, gardening, of course. Even like, so I know trapping and snaring is illegal in a lot of areas, you can still practice it without actually leaving those snares live, right? Like you can do it just to practice making them, test them, and then take it down if it's illegal in your area. Because in a situation like this, where we're in like basically without rule of law, I'm going to do what I have to do to eat. And if that means that I'm in a place where there's no snaring and trapping, but I'm hungry, they can find me and arrest me for it. I'm going to eat. There you go. Walking is like, and if nothing else, that's what we could all be doing. We could all be walking more. Also, like, if you house clean, but you do it at like a really fast pace, that can burn some calories. Gardening, same thing too. And yard work, like if you keep your pace going and get your heart rate going and you're breaking a sweat, you're getting some exercise in. It's a matter of like, how rigorously are you doing that stuff? Canning, I will be honest with you. I know I did that video with my sister here this year, where we did the blueberry jam. I don't love canning. It's not fun for me. I would rather dehydrate personally, but it is something that people should learn if they're into this. DDP, Doomsday Preppers are getting the first season, then they start running like crazy in the following season. Yeah, again, I can't say as much as I would like to there, Orlando. Talk to me offline. Why are you going to keep showing my skyline? So there's Bacon. Make sure you check out Bacon's stream later on tonight. And then I'm about to go on to number 2 here. It looks like I'm almost caught up. It's the sun, not the seeds. Interesting. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, even as a prepper or somewhat of a survivalist, I'm not interested in living in a bunker. That has no appeal to me. If things are that bad that there's nukes flying and going to land near me, I would personally, I'm not saying for anybody else, personally, I would rather go in that initial blast than live through that. That's just my personal choice. I'm not interested in living in a bunker. Other people are cool with that. That's fine. Yeah, if anybody wants to do some house cleaning, come on over to my place too. All right, number 2. So that was number 1 was fitness. Number 2, finance. So if we have fitness, now we have finance. I see so many people in the prepper forums like saying things like, why would I bother saving money? It's not going to matter when this happens. Okay, when's this going to happen? You know what is going to happen? More recessions, job loss, unexpected expenses, medical emergencies. Your rent's going to go up unexpectedly, or your homeowner's insurance now. All the homeowners insurance companies are jacking up the rent like crazy, especially if you live in coastal areas where it's prone to storms. Like you're going to get hit with these unexpected emergency expenses. What if none of this ever happens? What about your retirement? So you have a basement full of canned Spam and canned peaches. Great. What are you going to do for money in your retirement? Did you put anything back? Did you invest? Did you build a nest egg? I know what you're thinking. Oh, Sarge is just trying to sell us more gold and silver. Yeah, I love gold and silver. But if you don't want to do that, okay, fine. What are you doing to generate some wealth preservation, some emergency cash, some retirement preparedness, right? Are you creating new sources of income, passive income like dividend stocks or rental properties? Are you building a business that you can someday like just kind of hands off with and let somebody else run it and you're just collecting income from it? Are you investing in a 401k? Are you investing in an IRA? If you're not doing any of those things, you are not prepping, because that is a part of preparedness, whether or not people want to admit it. Well, you can't eat gold and silver if SHTF happens. I don't know. It depends on what the SHTF is. People have different definitions of SHTF. I know somebody who was on this channel at one point a couple of years ago who said she was homeless and she sold her silver collection to get back on her feet. Shoot, sounds like a good use of your preps to me. Imagine that. What if you got to retirement and you wanted to not have to work until you're 100 years old and finally keel over at the workplace and die, right? maybe you've got a vault full of gold and you can little by little sell off that gold, or you've got passive income stocks that are giving you dividends every month and you can live off that. Or maybe you were lucky enough that you have a pension. Those are getting harder and harder to companies that do that are getting less and less now. So it is part of preparedness. Sorry. And we don't know that this is going to happen. We don't know that TEOTWAWKI or like the big SHTF is going to happen. You have no guarantee of that. If anything, it's probably more likely that it won't, but you will have all those other small scenarios where having a little bit of emergency cash sure would be helpful. And I'm not going to get too far into this, but I've done other videos about how gold itself is, that's your escape plan, right? So if you had to, let's say the United States became so bad, but you had opportunity to get out, gold is your way out. Gold is how you're going to go to another country and exchange into another currency, basically anonymously, off the radar. And you could probably bribe your way onto a ship. You could probably, bribe your way into Mexico with it. So gold is that there's a reason why the ultra rich like to have a stockpile of gold. So if you know more than them, hey, more power to you. And again, if you don't want gold, that's fine. That's one of the assets I like. I also like dividend stocks. I also like having building businesses, having some passive income in, because I'm not going to live off Spam and canned peaches in my retirement if I make it that far. Now, let's say tomorrow the bombs start flying. Y'all can come on here and tell me, well, you were pretty stupid for investing in gold now. And I'll say, you know what? You were right. Let's see how that plays out. Okay. Let's check. Finances aren't fun to talk about. I don't know. I like talking about them. But finding the way to make that a priority is hard for people. I get that. Most people are struggling. Most people in the country are struggling. Most people in the country are living hand to mouth. But you got to somehow figure out, either you bring in more income, you cut your expenses, but you got to start putting some money away, or you're going to pay for it later on. You're going to regret it later on. Yep, that's true. I lost you for a second. If it stutters out, I apologize. You can set up your snares and then practice it with a stuffed animal or a stick to make sure like it does what you intend for it to do. There you go, Utah Mike. I love it. Good for you. You deserve that. Absolutely, Vicky. So that was one of the things that when Hoodbilly and I were streaming together, because he was in that area, that Hurricane Helene area, and stores were taking cash, and some stores were taking constitutional silver too. So yes, that really is a thing. When a store loses its power, some stores, not all, some stores will open up to the public and take cash. Now, typically, because I've been in storms when this has happened, typically the rule of thumb is you're going to round up, right? So if you get some groceries or whatever and it comes to $22.43, give them $23, call it a day, right? Like, so you round up and don't complain about it. You're lucky that they opened to sell you a few things. That's kind of the general rule of thumb, because it's being able to make change. They might not even be able to do that if everybody's just paying them in cash bills. Or better yet, carry some change with you if you don't want to round up. No, he always has. That's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've read some of his books and stuff. So let me talk about him for a second. So there is good advice in his books and his courses. He's kind of a jerk. I don't really like the guy personally. He shames the poor and basically says I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically says, if you're poor, it's your fault. I don't like that. I don't like that attitude. People are sometimes born into generational poverty. There's a lot of things that could be factors there. It's not so much a matter of like everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I wish it was that easy. You can help your situation by being a hard worker for sure. But he's always been into precious metals in all the books that I've read. Like he's probably pushing it a little bit more right now. But he's always been that. And his books do have some good financial advice, stuff that I never would have thought of. Like one of the things he talks about is how the ultra rich will buy properties and then they'll sell properties and then they'll take that money and just keep buying bigger and bigger properties to accumulate more and more land wealth, like land rich, if you know what I'm talking about with that, which that's not something I'm really into. That's, land is definitely a great asset. But I've used my money in different ways. Yeah, unfortunately I'm one of those bag holders. I do have a little bit of Dogecoin, not a ton. I do have some, and I'm just sitting on it hoping that one day if it goes back up to like 40 cents or whatever, I think it was at 40 at the high at one point, I will sell. That might never happen again. I'm one of the bag holders on that. I did get out of most of my Bitcoin and my Ethereum when those were at pretty decent highs, because I saw that like things were getting really questionable in the crypto market. And I'm not bashing on crypto coins so much as saying like I mostly got out of it for me. And people have been like contacting me like, hey, I can get you back in, whatever. I'm good. I've got a little bit of money left in there. It's mostly not for me at this point. I did make some money doing crypto flipping, especially Bitcoin. I did okay with it, but I'm kind of done with it. If that's your thing, that's cool. There might be more money to be made there. I'm not following it enough to tell you if it's something that I would say, yeah, give it a try, Steve says having money set aside for emergencies is a good idea. Car repairs, always. Medical issues, yes. House stuff, yes. So those are little emergencies, right? Like those are personal SHTF situations. It's not like a TEOTWAWKI or anything like that, but they're personal emergencies. And if you don't have, go back to Steve's comment here, if you don't have any emergency money set aside, then either you're not getting that car repair done, or you're doing it yourself if you have that skill set and you can come up with the parts, or you're using your credit card. Now, when we use our credit card, let me say this. Unlike Dave Ramsey, I do think that there is a way to use credit cards in a healthy way. Dave Ramsey's totally against credit cards. I disagree with that. But when you put money on your credit card and you let it run, you're accumulating interest, which is basically throwing money out the window. And interest rates are really, really high. So you're throwing a lot of money out the window. So if you have money on your credit card and you've been letting it run a balance for a while, try it. Number one, get that paid down as quick as you can. Really concentrate, because you're just literally throwing money out the window that you could be using for preps or groceries or your car repair or whatever. So if I was going to use a credit card, we pretty much use it for like a plane ticket or something like that, and then we pay it right down. If I'm booking a trip, hotel or something, we pay it right down. I have it for emergencies too. It is another backup source, but it shouldn't be like, well, I've got a credit card, that's my emergency money. It shouldn't be thought of like that, because you're paying more than you really should. If you do that, you're hurting yourself, basically. Banks love it though. You want to make the banks rich, go for it. And I get it, folks. Like there was a time when I overused it too. Like I get it. I'm not judging anyone. When I went through my my divorce, I was in a bad financial situation. It took me a while to dig my way out of there. So I get it. I'm not judging anybody. I know everybody's got circumstances. Crap happens. We can get ourselves into these bad situations. I get it. But if you work towards building up their emergency cash, you'll avoid a lot of those, and it gets easier and easier once that snowball starts moving. That's right, Vicky. Yeah, and burpees. Good to see you. How you doing, my friend? That takes discipline, right? Like, so let's say I buy a plane ticket, or I want to go to where did I go recently? I went down to Atlanta for Blade Show, right? So put the hotel on my credit card. It's really easy to just say, oh, I'll just finance that and pay it month by month. But if you do, you're paying way more than you normally would have. So you got to stay disciplined with your use of your credit cards. And really, really, if you can help it at all, try not to run a balance. All right, last one here, folks, is fun. So we got fitness, finance, and fun, the 3 F's. Fun. people get stressed out with prepping, and it really shouldn't be that way. Prepping should be fun. I see people in the prepping forums say things like, well, we bought all these preps. When are we going to use them? You're thinking, first of all, you panicked and you probably overspent your budget. And I'm sorry that you did that. If you had listened to my channel, I would have told you to stay within your budget. But don't do that. And it's a lifestyle, right? Preparedness is a lifestyle. You're not like preparing for a single event. You're preparing for all future events, right? That's one thing I didn't like about that Doomsday Prepper show is they would get people say, well, I'm preparing for the zombie apocalypse, or I'm preparing for the mass extinction comment. Are you really? Because most people are like, I might have some things that I'm thinking about, and I've talked about this. Like, I think we're going to see some civil unrest here in the next few weeks. And I'm really nervous that we're going to see in 2025 an escalation of the wars. Those are the things I'm thinking about. But if you ask me what I'm prepping for retirement. I'm prepping for retirement, and all of my preps are in case we have any events along the way to that I need to use. Okay. And it's not just items, of course, it's skills. But your fun comes in when you don't stress yourself out about it. And little by little, you're learning new skills, because skill learning is really fun. And I don't know why people don't invest more into that. Sometimes you can learn it for free. Ask a friend who hunts, take me hunting. Ask a friend who fishes, take me fishing. Teach me how to do this. Ask a friend who forages, can you take me on your next hike? I'd like to learn about a few plants, right? A lot of it's on YouTube. Go to the library, get some books, right? I learned basically how to shoot by doing airsoft and training with a bunch of infantry guys who taught me things like slicing the pie, breaching, fatal funnels, flanking, L-shaped ambush, pinchers, all these things that I didn't know what any of that stuff was, but I went, and for a couple of years, I worked with these infantry guys, and they would teach me stuff, and they'd say, "Hey, you're doing that wrong. This is how you turn the corner, right? You're putting too much of your body out there when you're coming up over a window. You don't need to come up like that. You stand back a few feet, and you come up like that." Little things like that will that then you can go to something like IDPA, which is also what I did, which is where you go and you do these courses, and now you're running the course, and there's moving targets and things like that. So yeah, I guess that did take some financial investment, but it was also more just time too. Like, it was a lot of time investment because I said, I want to learn how to do this. And so I took some safety classes too. And I went with family members who are very well versed in firearms, and they taught me some stuff. Right. And so I'm not saying like I'm John Wick. I'm not. And that's why I don't usually talk about firearms on this channel. I try to stay in my lane. I can speak to those things. I can have a conversation about them. But if you want to learn about them, go to somebody like Steve who teaches that stuff for a living. Right. Of course, they're trainers. Take some classes at your local place. Take safety classes. That's actually really important. Take safety classes, right? So all these skills can be developed with just a lot of times with time, a little bit of effort. You can learn how to sew. You can learn how to can. You can, all that stuff. It's not super expensive, but people don't usually want to do that. I see a lot of people want to accumulate stuff, right? So I'm going to buy a year's worth of long-term food storage from Patriot Supply. Okay, great prep to have. I got some long-term food storage too, but is that all you want to do? And then now you're stressed out because you have a closet full of food, and you're like, now when am I going to use this? Well, you didn't approach it the right way. And that's why it's not fun for you. So the fun comes in when it becomes a lifestyle, when you stop stressing about like that the world is going to end tomorrow, because it's not going to be tomorrow. And you start thinking about, I want to learn some skills. I want to become more independent. I want to be content, right? When you do that, prepping is a blast. I have so much fun with prepping. It is the cure to anxiety. It shouldn't make you anxious. It should make you less anxious. So your three preps that most preppers are neglecting are fitness, finance, and fun. That's what I got for you tonight. Before you leave, though, I got a couple last little things. Let me check your chat. Last chance to vote in the poll. If you haven't done so, go ahead and vote in the poll right now. I got a couple more little things for you here. And again, make sure you're checking each other's channels out. There's some great content creators here right now in the chat. Make sure you're checking out their channels. They got great stuff. Scrolling. So this is the value for constitutional silver is generally going to be based on the spot price, which is the last 6 months has gone up quite a bit. You should see, if you go into local coin shops, you should see basically they're going to be pretty close to your online dealers. And make sure if you go into an online dealer, please, you can use the one that I got down in the description down below. I'm an AppMex affiliate. But if you go to somebody else, at least please make sure that you're using a reputable dealer. There is scammers out there, right? That's why I like AppMex. You when you order from AppMex, they've been around for years. They have a great reputation. When you order, you're going to get real silver. If you go to Joe Schmo on Facebook Marketplace and you don't know him, hey, you're taking your chances. That's on you. Maybe you have a great transaction. I hope so. But there is fake silver and fake gold out there on the market. And if you don't go to a reputable source, you're taking a chance. That's up to you if you want that risk. Now, if you want to buy from somebody in the community and you don't know them, just ask for them to give you some vouchers, right? I know who I trust in the community who I would absolutely buy gold and silver from. So there's a few people that I don't know that great. I might not buy from them, or I might ask for like one of the people that I do trust. Hey, have you ever dealt with them? How was your experience? Parts can be a problem. I know a few people right now that are having a hard time getting parts for their vehicles that need repairs. And you know what, Bacon, that's not a bad prep. I mean, I'm not a big drinker myself, but I will tell you, yeah, I've got some nice whiskeys and bourbons put up, and I look at them once in a while. I think, yeah, maybe I'll crack some, but it's just I don't drink that much. It's just I did. I'm not trying to be like preachy. I did. I drank enough in my 20s to get my fill. But they're good preps. There's always going to be people who are wanting and needing that. It also has some medicinal values. It also, in some cases, you can use it as a fire starter. There's a lot of things that alcohol can be used for. You can make tinctures if you got like Everclear, whole grain alcohol. It's good to keep some of that on hand because you can make medicinal tinctures with that. And so, yeah, some of those credit cards can give you like rewards too. So didn't even get into that. Like there's different things that you can do with that. I've bought plane tickets just on the rewards that I've accumulated. Sometimes I've got some points on my credit card right now. I haven't decided if I'm going to use them to assist with Christmas shopping, or I have a big trip planned in 2025. So I might save them to help buy the ticket with that. Amen. Amen to that. Yeah, sewing is a great skill, and I don't think like a lot of young people aren't learning that. If some are, but it's a good skill to have. Even if you do like sloppy with it, like I can sew. I'm sloppy with it, but you know what? If we had a situation like that, then being able to sew even sloppy would be kind of handy. Me too, brother. Me too. That's why I'm trying to walk every day. Yep. All right. So last little bit here. Did you vote in the poll? Let me check how you voted. All right, here's what you said. The poll question was, did a big weather event get you started in prepping? 17% of you said yes. 56% of you said no. 14% of you said it was the fear of lizard people. And 14% of you said the earth is flat, dummy. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Our stupid Wi-Fi is acting up. Sorry about that. It's not YouTube. That's my Wi-Fi. Last little bit. So if you came in late, next week I won't be live, and I'm going to try to have something released for you on Friday, but I won't be live next Friday night. I'm going to be doing a test here in a second. So after I give you my closing quote, if you want to stay for that, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm testing the wheel of names, getting ready for that giveaway that we're going to do at the end of December for the $50 Amazon card. Okay. So closing quote. I always like to end with something positive. So first of all, thank you everybody for hanging out with me a little bit on Friday night. I always look forward to seeing you. Really appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and get to do some fun stuff for yourself and with your family. My closing quote for today is, I'm actually stealing this from somebody else, and I don't know who the original author is. The hardest thing that I started it wrong. I never knew how strong I was until I had to forgive somebody who wasn't sorry for what they did. The hardest thing I had to do was forgive somebody who never was going to ask for that forgiveness. I want you to just think about that for a second and remember that when you forgive somebody, it's a gift for yourself. Okay. You do not have to let somebody back into your life that's hurt you. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to cut people off. You are allowed to say, even with family members, you're no good for me and I'm sorry. We just can't be around each other anymore. You are 100% allowed to do that. But when you carry around anger for something that's happened, there's a pretty good chance that that person isn't thinking about it, that they don't care that it's bothering you. They're not sitting around thinking like, well, I'm sorry that I hurt Sarge or whatever. So you're the one that's bearing the burden of that. You're the one that's still paying the price for that. And when you forgive, you're choosing to say, I'm not carrying this anymore. It's not mine. This was never mine. It didn't belong to me. I'm letting it go. You and I are probably not going to be friends anymore. It's okay. Or you're not going to be in my life anymore. And that's okay. Don't wish you any harm, but I'm just not owning this anymore. So that's one way. That's what one form of forgiveness looks like when the person hasn't necessarily asked for it or felt sorry for what they did. Okay. And I want you to think about trying to grant that for yourself because you deserve that. Okay. You deserve that. Folks, I really enjoyed talking to you tonight. I'm about to go over to my wheel of names. For the rest of you who are logging off, have a great night. Don't forget Bacon's going live. Make sure you check out his channel later on tonight. Don't let them live rent-free inside your house. Amen to that. Folks, yeah, my Wi-Fi was terrible tonight. I apologize. Folks, keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge. All right, for the rest of us, let me see if I can get this to work. If you want to hang out for a minute, you can give me some feedback on if it worked or not. Okay. Wheel of names. Let's try this. All right, so I'm just testing this, and if you're still here watching, let me know if you can see this and if you can hear it when I spin it. All right, so that was a little test. Now I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And we'll go back to StreamYard. Okay. Okay, so you guys were able to see that when you could hear it as well. I appreciate that. Yeah, have a great night, everybody. Awesome. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Alicia. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate that. You all have a great night. Enjoy your weekend. I'll have some content for you coming out this week, but not live next week. This is Sarge out.